anything is possible. And really, you create your reality in your head. And if you think it's doable, it is doable. If you don't think you cannot do it, you will not do it. Well, if you ask me about my background, I would have to start from the beginning. My first huge major shift in my thinking was my stay in the US. It was 1994, and it was right after revolution. And I just came with this crazy idea to my parents. I said, I want to leave for US, I want to go for a year. And they were so kind that they didn't say no. They said, yes, go for it. It's like, yeah, but it costs a lot of money. And they were like, how much? It was like 150,000, which was a huge amount of money back then. You could almost build a house for this money. And so they said yes, and they went to bank. They mortgaged our home, basically. They allowed me to go and study to US, And I was I feel very privileged that I could do this. On the other hand, it was huge. It was a huge burden on me. I just couldn't fail. And it was very funny because I wanted to see how things get done in US, and I was sent to the whole essence of US. I spent a year in Las Vegas, which seems cool, but Las Vegas is a normal city like any other if you live there. But one thing which was very important for me was that I saw a different approach. If you had lived in Czech in 90s or 80s and the beginning of 90s, the whole school system, and it's unfortunately until this day, didn't try to raise individuals. Communists, and we still have it. Actually, it was before with Habsburgs as well. They tried to raise obedient servants and obedient clerics, officers. So I was like that. I always had problem in my school. I remember my mom came from one of the first meetings with parents. And I was in the first grade, and she told me, you cannot tell your teacher that she is wrong. I said, but she was wrong. I was in the first grade. It was a biology lesson. She was like, yeah, she is wrong, but you cannot tell her. I was like, why? And when I went to States, I was still, this little bit shy, and stuff. Within 2 months, I totally changed, and I totally saw that anything is possible. And really, you create your reality in your head. And if you think it's doable, it is doable. If you don't think you cannot do it, you will not do it. And the US educational system is not perfect by no means. But for me, as the kid from East Bloc, this was a huge eye-opener, because they pushed me not to be obedient. They pushed me to be individual. And they were not, especially in Czech, if you do something in math class, they don't care, about what your process was, how you thought, what were you thinking. They care if your result is 100% correct, In States, it was quite different, Even though you were not 100% correct, they ask you, how did you think? How did you come up with this idea? Why? I was it was the right word for me. In the library, we already had internet. So I spent a lot of time in the library browsing through internet. It was where I fell in love with internet, and I knew that this is something I want to do. So I came home, I searched for internet connection, which was really hard, because I'm from small town, Sedlčany, and there was not one internet connection in the whole town in 1995. So I actually started to do some internet things when I came to Prague, 96, 97, and in 1999 I met with guys who started Atlas.cz, and I started with them. So it was a great journey. I always wanted to expand from Czech Republic, more. And with Atlas, we expanded to Slovak and Ukraine. Then with Ataxo, I expanded to Czech, Slovak, Poland, and I also became one of the main members in SEMPO, which is Search Engine Marketing Professionals organization. I was in the global committee, so I got to travel a lot around the earth, made a lot of contacts in the internet world, and it's actually what I'm using now to when I do some angel investments around the world. We have a lot of angel investments in Czech, in internet companies. We have some investments in US in internet companies. And our second biggest market is Brazil, because Brazil is a very interesting market. It grows like 50% a year. There's 200 million people. There's the largest middle class or fastest growing middle class in the world, except for China. And they speak language that you can understand. So there are some cultural similarities. And what's really interesting now is to see the trends. Like 10 years ago when we did Atlas, it was always like something started in the US, then like within 1 or 2 years it would be in UK, even on the internet. And only after 3 to 4 years you would see the same thing here on the small Czech market. So it was interesting. Nowadays it's just totally different. It's still the same internet, you know, you can still type the same address, you know, www.something.com, and you can see the, you know, US things. But just the mentality of people, you know, and the adoption of technology is just so fast that just spreads like a bushfire.